Good evening, everyone. This is Zero, and tonight we're going to be doing my first full-length guide. So I have a full game here, 25 minutes of content, and I'm going to be talking about how to play Akali. So I'm going to start at the basics. The most important thing is your runes and your masteries and your start, because if those are bad, you're going to lose. Now keep in mind, I'm low elo or low tier, but I'm doing fairly well with Akali in ranked. I'm doing fairly well with Akali in normals, and I just wanted to make a guide. So what's most important is your runes. So we'll go over those really quick. Your marks are going to be optional, whatever you want. You can do AD or you can do Magic Pen. I definitely don't recommend ability power, so I do AD or Magic Pen, one of the two. Either one of those is good. If you only have one, use them, right? Use what you have. And it's your preference. I run AD because I haven't bought Magic Pen runes yet, but I'll probably run those on her once I buy them for a couple other champs at the same time. But there's only a couple that I would use them on right now, so I haven't invested yet. And then you always run yellow, the seals, armor seals, not scaling. You want the base armor seals. And then your glyphs can be scaling MR or scaling AP, depending on how you play. I run scaling MR because I don't like to get burst, and I find the little bit of AP you get from it isn't overly useful. But at the same time, I would probably go with the scaling MR. So that's just me. And then the quints are optional. There's always a bunch of options with quints because they're good at everything. I would run AP if I had them. I don't, so I'm running some other stuff. But I would definitely run AP or AD on them. I probably wouldn't run much else on Akali, but the options are there, right? With quints, you can get away with most of them on most champs, and it wouldn't really make a huge difference. So those are our runes and quints, and then we also have our masteries. On Akali, I absolutely 100% run 21-9. There's no other way to run Akali, because you want to get that full AP tree, and you just need a couple in defense to keep you from dying right away, because you're very squish, you're very bursty. Alright, so as you can see, I'm just getting in the lane here. We've talked about everything that's important before this. As you can see, I'm trying to get all the CS, and this Heimer's harassing me, and I feel like I'm getting more CS than he's getting harassed, but I'm missing a few there because I'm still not overly good at the game, but I'm trying, as you can see. I missed that one, never should have. So here's the thing, part of this guide is going to be how to play from behind, because I picked this game specifically because I had a bit of a poor performance early. I thought I was doing well, and then I realized I was getting behind. As you see, Heimer's got his turret farms up, which means at this point in the game, nobody can really challenge him under those turrets. So I'm trying to harass him from out of that turret, but I'm a melee champ, so it's kind of challenging. I can get my Q off and the occasional W proc, but it's not really that great. However, you will see me here a couple of times. I do believe, if I remember correctly. I get a Q off, and he kind of comes back around, and I barely catch him in it's my E, I believe, sorry, my E range. And I get him with that, and it chunks him quite badly. Lee Sin shouldn't have gone in there. You never want to go in on a Heimer with turrets up, especially as Akali. It's an Akali god. You want to avoid that as best you can. So as you can see, he's poking me down quite hard. I've used all my pots but one at this point. You'll see me use those up. So things I could have done better, I could have used my Shroud to better effect. But you still have to dodge the lasers from the cannons for the most part, because as soon as you become visible, they shoot at you. I did take a lot of damage there. I let him stun me a couple of times. I probably could have gotten out of it. And I burned my summoners really poorly here in a minute. So now, one thing I didn't really do as well as I could have is I should have gotten that CS, but also I kind of played against Heimer as I would most regular champs, mid, which with Akali you kind of try to go toe-to-toe with the poke and just get more CS. I saw Kha'Zix there and I was so confused. But try to get as much CS as them. However, with Heimer, it's kind of a different meta. You have to avoid him a little bit. You have to poke him at him when you can and grab any CS that you can without getting up toe-to-toe because it will kill you. And I wasn't really doing that as best as I could have. Like I was missing important CS. Like the siege minions, the turret, that was really dumb. But I was getting stressed because this Heimer's crapping on me, but I kept forgetting all I have to do is wait till I'm level 7 or 8 and I just gonna raffle stomp him. Now Lee Sin goes in on this. I don't have my ult, and by the time I get there, I'm gonna have to flash, and it's just like I wouldn't even be able to have a pretty good idea that we were going to get the kill. So it just wasn't worth it, so I just let that happen. And at this point, I'm starting to get worried because he's getting fed, so I'm getting behind. And you'll see me get like really far behind because I'm not doing things properly. As you can see, I'm using my shroud to hide myself under turret, so it makes it harder for him to hit me with stun and rockets. However, at this point, I don't have my shroud, which makes me nervous because he has his turrets. If he landed that stun, I would have died right there. So it's very stressful laning against Heimer, but this is about Akali, so you're gonna learn how to come from behind and still be useful, because as you can see, even though I get behind, I do die a few times here. I don't become a hindrance to my team, and that's going to be the biggest thing when you play Akali, because if you don't get fed on Akali, you're pretty much worthless. So what you have to do is make sure you don't feed if you're going to be underfed, and you need to get any gold you can to get caught up. Because until you get your basic items, which for me is my magic pen boots, my Zonias, and my gunblade. Always gunblade first. We'll actually talk about that first. So my starting build, I always get a longsword, pots, and warding totem trinket thing. Yes. Now the reason for this, and you can do it a little bit differently. The reason I get this is because I get a vamp scepter first back easily. Your other options are you can get an amplifying tome, and you can get your hex tech. However, that requires a little bit more gold than a vamp scepter, so you can't always guarantee you're going to get it. I believe at this point in the game, even though I'm behind, I would have had enough gold for it. Yeah, I could have gotten my hex tech. Revolver. You know, it just depends. However, I do build gunblade first. I'll get boots, level 1 boots, while I'm building gunblade, kind of wherever they fit in my backing. Oh no, that's not what I wanted. I want Akali. I want Akali. Change camera mode, Akali. Why is it doing this? Manual camera. Get out of here, cat. Follow Akali. There we go. Alright. So, as you can see, we got a double kill, which is good. So even though I'm still behind in my lane, my CS is super far behind Heimer's. I have 28, he has 51. I'm still not feeding him at this point. And my team was able to hold their own because Darius is picking up double kills, which is excellent, so I love Darius. Alright, sorry about the confusion there. I'm not quite sure why the camera jumped off like that. Alright, so let's talk about it. So your first items, we talked about that. We want to get your gunblade first. Another reason I get Vamp Scepter first, oh yeah, that's where I died. That was really, really stupid of me, because I could have just stayed in my shroud until the turret expired and walked away, but I didn't. Or I could have flashed or barriered. I could have done any of the above, but that turret laser hit me for a lot and I wasn't expecting it because I don't play Heimer much, so that was dumb. Know your opponents, that's important. Yeah, because I build Bilgewater first, because it gives me an activatable for 100 damage into slow, which is quite a bit. The cooldown on it's quite long, but when you go into an all-in at level 6 or 7, 100 damage is quite a bit, because as you can see, I have almost 1,000, so I'm chunking them for 10% with an item, plus my abilities, which are boosted by that item, and then I build a Hextech Gunblade as fast as possible. So right now I'm kind of going bot, because I see that they're starting to struggle, and I see that they're getting people low. So I want to go in and see if I can pick up at least some assists. I don't necessarily need the kills, but I want to make sure I snowball their lane to make up for me being behind, and I want to make sure I pick up an assist or a kill so that I can start to catch up. So I know Kha'Zix is here, and I know there's supports here. So Jinx kills Alistar and Graves before I get there, but I'm able to turret dive Kha'Zix easily and walk away. I didn't need to bury there, but I didn't want to get into the jungle and not have health. So I did it anyway. Probably could have gotten away without doing it. Actually, I know I could have, but I probably shouldn't have done it. So I've picked up a kill there, which makes me and Heimer even. However, I do believe I go in and feed him a blue buff right away, but I was able to roam bottom, help them secure that turret, help them secure that kill. They may have been able to do it on their own, but now I've gotten fed and they've gotten fed, and we've gotten a turret, which brings our team up to 2k gold advantage, even though I'm behind my Heimerdinger. So he's hitting me with that crap. He's pretty decent for our level of play. Most Heimers aren't that good. So those are items. So your base items, you're going to get your Gunblade, and you're going to use that as often as possible. You're going to get your Magic Pen Boots next. So you have your Gunblade and your Magic Pen Boots fully built, and then you're going to build your Zonias. Now, always make sure you set them on the same slots. So for me, I always do my Zonias or defensive items on 1. So if I'm building a Relic Shield and Support or what have you, I put it on hotkey 1. And then my offensive items I always put on hotkey 2, and if I have a second offensive item, I put it on hotkey 3, but there's not very many builds I do that. See, I never should have died. There's 2 times I died for no reason at all, and I'm sorry you have to watch that, but you have to understand how hard it is to come from, or how to play from behind as Akali. So I'm definitely behind now, because my Heimer's even more fed, and he's got a blue buff. So, that's a thing. yeah, so you got your Zonias, and you have to make sure you always use your Zonias when you have it and you need it, and you always use your Gunblade no matter what. As soon as you engage on anyone, use your Gunblade, because it's a 60-second cooldown, and each auto attack lowers that cooldown by 3. So basically, as soon as you go in on someone, you want to Hex Tech Gunblade them. It slows them, it deals damage to them, and it also scales off your AP. So your Gunblade can be doing 500 and 600 damage when you get, fed. And it's terrifying, and that's going to make people not want to fight you, and they're going to start to run instead of fight you. So the first thing you want to do is, as you go in, you want to Hex Tech Gunblade every single time. You always want to have that on cooldown, because it comes off cooldown so quickly. You just always want to use it. So you'll see me, as soon as I get Hex Tech, it's almost never on cooldown, unless I'm just not near enemies. And then your Zonias, you want to use it when Kha'Zix is ulting you, when Heimerdinger is about to throw his ult. When you see him light up, I pop my Zonias, because I know he's going to try to hit me with a Rocket Barrage, which will 3/4 my health. But if he wastes that Rocket Barrage and I'm Zonias, guess what? Heimer no longer has an ult, and he's trying to kill me with 3 basic abilities while I have my ult stacks and everything else. So I do believe we pick up the double kill here. Or no, Heimer kills me. I should have gone on him to regen some health, but I think I was out of ult stacks. No, I wasn't. That's just awkward. Oh, and the Soraka heal afterwards. He did apologize for that, but I don't think it really would have saved me anyway, because Heimer had quite a bit of health. So yeah, you always want to use your activatable items. Alternatives to building the Hex Tech Gunblade, there aren't really one. There's not really an alternative to the 3 core items, but you can build it differently. If you're against an AD mid, you might want to build a Seeker's Arm Guard first, as opposed to the Bilgewater, or opposed to the Hex Tech Revolver. But other than that, you're going to want to get those 3 items fairly quickly, no matter what, and then you build straight AP from there. We'll talk about that in a bit. So one of the things I can do against Heimer is, if I can get my Shroud down to harass my opponent, whoever they are. If I can get my Shroud down, I can Q on them, and that lasts, I can't remember the exact stat, but I believe it's 4 seconds, something like that. And that allows me to, oh, I get it, but I traded with him, but I feel like that's catching up, because it's reducing the amount of kills. He's ahead on me completely, so I picked up some gold, he's picked up some gold, which makes the other gold less important, if that makes any sense at all. Yeah, you want to try to have your Q mark on people all the time, because when you have that, you can auto attack, you can E, and it'll pop that, and it'll do about 100 damage early game, and it'll do like 200 and 300 and 400 damage as you get later in the game, which is terrifying. So you always want to make sure you do that. When you're in the Shroud, you want to have that mark up, so people are concerned that you're going to try to pop it, because when you do, it's going to do a lot of damage. Now, your Q synergizes really well with your ult, because here's what you can do. If you get a Q stack on someone, wait till your Q's back up, and it'll give you about a 1 or 2 second window, depending on how much, if you have cooldown reduction. Sometimes I feel like it's more than like 1 second, definitely 2 seconds, that you can ult, pop the Q stack, and put another one on them immediately, and it just makes your combo so much stronger. And of course, Gunblade them, and ult them again, and Q and E them. Like, it just gives you so much more damage, because it gives you a whole nother mark to pop, and you get it right away, because it'll sit on them for a second. So if they let you poke them with a Q, and then you're in ult range, you close the gap with your ult, they've got a Q stack, you pop the Q stack, and all of a sudden they've taken 1200 damage before you've even used any of your basic abilities, and you still have 2 ult stacks to go. So I'm coming down bot, because I saw here that they had the opportunity for me to roam. I definitely got peeled off by Alistar there, but I'm able to get back in. I believe I ult onto him, and yeah, Jinx gets that kill, and I pick up Kha'Zix, and then Graves isn't able to get away. So here's what I've done. Heimer just came down, so Heimer just made a huge mistake, because he didn't follow my roam. It allowed me to pick up a double, I believe I got a double kill, and they got a bunch of assists off it, and our ADC got a kill. And we cleaned up bot lane, which is going to allow them to push turret, and we picked up a dragon. So by not following a roam mid lane, he's cost his team a lot. So when you're playing Akali mid, even if you're behind, why is this doing this? Even if you're behind, follow your roams. If Heimer roamed, I would have followed him, or I should have followed him. I may not have, because I'm not that good. But if you see that your person's there, calling a Mia isn't really good enough. Even if you're behind, it's best to follow them down. If Heimer followed me, he may have been able to make a play, or he may have been able to keep his team from just getting destroyed by numbers. Because you can't outplay a 5v2, right? Not normally. Sometimes you can, but you can't normally. If Heimer had been there, it would have been better, right? He could have called a Mia, he could have gone down himself, and their team would have been in a much better position to deal with me coming down, and to deal with the bot lane already winning that fight. So Another thing is, I have to know my power. I have to know my abilities. I have to know if I'm going to lose another turret mid. I already lost my turret, so that allows me to roam. You can roam when you lose your turret and they haven't lost theirs, and try to catch yourself up and try to catch other people up. So I didn't want to go in on this, but we're balls deep now, so I think we're going in anyway. Yeah, so you have to know your power. You have to know that you can go bot and clean up the kills, because nobody wants you to come bot and feed. That's just not fun. So I am able to kill Heimer, but Kha'Zix cleaned me up right at the same time, and my team's able to clean him up. But you have to know your power, because if I'd gone bot and fed them 3 kills instead of picking up 3 kills from my team's going to hate me, and I'm going to be worthless as a mid laner. So you don't want to do that. You always want to make sure that you know your power. Once you've played a couple games with Akali, play a few normal games with Akali, get a feel for how much you can do in your burst, because once your burst is over, you're in big trouble. So if you can't jump in and kill someone, you shouldn't be jumping in at all, unless there's a situation where you feel it's important, somebody else is beating on them too. But right, in a team fight, you need to make sure you know which carries you can and cannot kill. You need to watch which ones have Zonias. You need to watch which ones have a lot of magic resist, and you need to make sure you're killing the people so that you can jump on and eliminate in the first 0.5 seconds of a team fight. Right, so this whole game, I'm looking for Graves and Kha'Zix, and I'm trying to delete them. I don't always get on them, but for the most part, I'm deleting Graves and Kha'Zix as best I can. And Heimer, of course. So those are going to be some of your key steps there, because if you don't know how much damage you do, they're going to kill you, because you're too squishy. And another part of knowing your power is knowing how much you lifesteal. Because I know I can go in on an 80 carry, and they're going to burst me down pretty quick, with, you know, if they're starting to crit and stuff, but I know that I'm going to lifesteal enough back if I'm going to kill them. So I'm comfortable going in on them, because I know I'm going to be at full health when I'm done and have another ult stack. See, Heimer allowed himself to get picked off here, which was really bad for his team. He did hit me with most of those rockets, but as you can see, I was able to lifesteal quite a bit of that. Alistair saved my life. Alistair made a huge mistake. I just like that part of the game, because he was just like, oh, I don't want you to die yet. Yeah, so. And then let's see what else we wanted to talk about. Oh yes, Dragon, objective control. So we got buffs, Dragon, and turrets. Akali is a mid who has a really strong ability to control objectives. She can solo Dragon in about 10 seconds using her Q marks and her basic abilities, and a couple of ult stacks. It costs you 2 ult stacks sometimes to solo Dragon. So if I see that the team's out of position, I can hop down from mid lane, take Dragon, and walk away, because I can kill it that quickly once you get your core runs. Once you get your Zonas, your Gunblade, and your Sorcerer's Shoes, you can solo Dragon. Once you get Rabadons, you can do it a little bit safer. But you need to be watching that stuff, because you can control Dragon, which is over 1,000 gold for your team, which is really important. You can also push turrets, because your passive gives you pretty decent AD, auto attack damage, and you can kill anybody that comes at you and escape. Right? If you put a ward on golems and you need to escape, you can just ult down to golems and walk away, because that gives you a gap. Plus, you get your flash or your shroud or whatever, all your other escape mechanisms. It allows you to be a really effective split pusher to take those turrets. Team Baron, whatever. And then the buffs, you can also jump in. You can ult over the wall if you have the trinket ward. You can ult over the wall, grab the buff, and walk out fairly quickly if you're willing to burn 2 ult stacks. Once you get later on in the game, it's not that big a deal, and it's worth it. As you can see, I was able to split push that turret. Heimer showed up. Alistair showed up. So I'm going to jump on Heimer and try to kill him. But they did have quite a bit of damage. I flashed, and I almost got away. If Poppy hadn't been there, and I hadn't been ignited. But those are 2 things I didn't, so I didn't get away, and I died. But such is life. So we've covered most of the other things I wanted to talk about. Last big thing, is, 2 things actually, is map awareness and team fights. And the rest of your build, actually. We'll cover team fights first. So your build is optional, but at the same time there are some optimal builds that you want to use. So you're going to get your 3 base items. As you can see, I'm working on my Zonias here. I've caught back up a little bit. Akali's 6, 6, and 5 now at this point, with 49 CS to Heimer's 117. But I've caught up a little bit, and now I'm a threat on the map again, which is exactly what I want to be. I want to be a threat. So the rest of my build, I usually would get a Rabadon's Death Cap. I would get... I'm just trying to think what else I get. A Rabadon's Rabbiting's Death Cap. A GFG is a good choice. Any large AP items. Anything with cooldowns with DFG is a really good item on her. And those are the things you really want, is large amounts of AP. And then to be a total jerk, consistently on Akali. Once I get to late game and have my Zonias, I have enough control over when I die that I will get a Mage Eyes. So I'll get my Zonias, my DFG, my Mage Eyes, and just wreck people. And once you get your full stack of your Mage Eyes, you have some pretty decent cooldown reduction with 10 from the DFG and 15 from the Mage Eyes. And I run 5 on my masteries, I think. So if you get a blue puff or a blue pot, you're full up, right? So that's my basic build, is I just go really bursty, and since I have the lifesteal from the Gunblade, and my Gunblade scales on AP, it's totally worth it to buy those items. So as you can see here, even though I'm behind, we're able to clean up quite well, because I'm able to delete Heimer before he can do the majority of his damage. And then I'm also able to get Poppy, I believe. I'm waiting for an ult stack, yeah, so I don't know if I actually get him. I don't, because Alisher blocks for me, or blocks for him. Yeah, so that's your build. You just build straight AP. You can do a few other things you would like, I believe. Oh, I was going to say, I'm pretty sure I turned and killed Graves there, but he walked away, which is a smart thing to do. Let's talk about team fights. So, Akali is a melee with a giant gap closer and massive burst. So she doesn't fit in the front line, and she doesn't fit in the back line. She has her own very unique playstyle. I can't remember if I pick up the triple here or not. It would be really nice if I did, so you guys could see it. But she has her own special playstyle, because in a team fight, you need to be hovering around the edges. You need to wait for Heimer to make a mistake and delete him from the fight. Oh yeah, they saved him there. I don't think I get away from this, actually. I think I die. Yeah, I do die. Just too much AoE. But, yeah, so you want to make sure you kind of hover around the edges, and you want to jump on carries, kill them, and then most of the time when I jump on a carry in a team fight, I'll kill them, and then I'll Zonias. Almost always. Because about the time you're done killing the carry, it's been 1 or 2 seconds, and the rest of the team has started to notice, so Poppy's going to turn around and diplomatic immunity you. Poppy's going to, or Alistar's going to pop you up. So right before they get their wits about them and start doing that, because you can pop out of the fog of war almost with your ult. They see you for a half a second, and all of a sudden you're on their carry. So you pop your Zonias, and then the rest of your team's already so engaged that they're not waiting to jump on you. They're fighting the rest of your team, and you're out of your Zonias, and you continue your killing spree. Because as you kill somebody, you get a stack on your ult, which allows you to use it again. So you get 3 stacks. If you kill somebody, you get another stack. So if it takes all 3 to kill someone, you still have a stack left over. If it takes all 3 to kill someone and you get an assist and a kill, you have 2 stacks, which isn't more than enough to do damage, and your Zonias gives you the time for everything to cool down and be ready to go, and you can just kill more people. I don't think I realized Kha'Zix was doing Baron, or was at Baron. I don't know if he's doing it, but yeah, so it's really important in team fights that you have your wits about you, and you're jumping and killing carries, and then kind of shielding yourself with your Zonias. Or even jumping to the next carry if there's 2 carries available and you have ult stacks left. If you don't have ult stacks left, you need a GTFO, you need a flash or barrier. Yeah, so in team fights, you kind of wait for the initiation to happen, and then when everyone's distracted, swoop in, snipe a carry, and out you go. So I believe that's just about everything. You'll notice me with Akali, the last thing is you need to dive turrets with Akali. It's not fun to tank them, but you can kill people fast enough, you can get on them quick enough. As you can see, I killed him, and I just walked away. And I waited for an opportunity, and I saw one here, and I go back in, I believe I kill somebody else, and I walk away, or maybe they surrender, I can't remember. But either way, I only have a few seconds left. So at this point, I would just like to ask that if you enjoyed this guide, to subscribe, to come play with us again. Questions, comments, remarks, throw them down below. I'm not a pro player by any means, so if you have suggestions on what you could do better than what I suggest in this guide, just let me know down below. Subscribe, and I look forward to playing with you soon. Have a wonderful night. And I'm just going to let this game finish up, and that'll be it. So it's got another 20 seconds or so. Again, don't forget to subscribe, because I love you, and I want to see you again. And is it right here? Yes. I believe it's GG here soon. Oh, maybe there's more time, so I'm just going to keep talking. I really wanted the Penta here. As you can see, I I kind of almost got one, but I didn't clean it up. Oh yeah, I got the triple. I got the quadra on him, but Jinx had stolen my penta because she's a jerk. Thanks for watching. Questions, comments, remarks, throw them down below, and I look forward to playing with you soon.